Okay. You made it into the network, Kirsten. You did. You actually made it here. And I'm happy to be
I'm
speaking with you.
honored.
You know what? You look different than your picture that was sent to me.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about how old that picture was.
I want to know how old the picture was.
My daughter told me it was good enough to, I said, is this picture too old? Do I even look like that anymore? And she said, yeah, you could use that. My hair is different.
Your hair looks
But I'm
awesome, by the
also,
way. It looks
oh,
awesome. Yeah.
oh, thank you so
It like
much.
compliments you so well.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have a t-shirt that says openly gray. So I'm embracing my silver.
That's funny. That's pretty
Mhm.
good. Well, Deb, who connected me to you, Deb's just awesome. She's connected me with so many amazing people. And this was a doozy of a story when she sent it to me. I was like, okay, this is different. And I'm all
Mhm.
about different stuff. So we're going to talk about your life, which is quite interesting, I would say. And this the book is Ghost Marriage.
The Ghost Marriage. It's a
Ghost
memoir.
Marriage. There's a
Mhm.
lot to think about when that title, but let's back up and talk a little bit about how we got to this point.
So you want background to the book, or
I want background into
you want
you.
background on me? Okay. Um, I am a boomer woman. I'm a writer. I do marketing and journalistic writing as my day job. I work for UC Berkeley, and for the decade of my 50s, I was in a marriage that was failing and I was becoming increasingly unhappy. And the story I tell in the book is the failure of my marriage and then the very difficult divorce. My ex-husband was a civil litigator, so he knew how to litigate in all
Yeah.
kinds of ways. And I mean, the short version that sums up the book is that um, we had a bad divorce. He got properties in the divorce that my name was still on the loans for. And then soon after our divorce, he died of colon cancer. And he left me with $1.5 million in debts, of his debts. And so the book tells the story of how I dealt with that, all of my feelings about it, how I was raising my children as a single mom, how I was trying to date again. There's sort of a sub theme of women in their 50s online dating. It's kind of
Yeah.
tragic comedy. Uh,
Tragic comedy.
and then I started hearing from him after he had died, and he
Yeah.
started sending me messages. And I was working with a spiritual life coach, and I saw a medium, and I did a lot of work on myself. And kind of the premise of the story is that by doing this work after he died, and by um, sort of embracing a larger picture of what we're here to do and what our relationships are for, I forgave him. I worked my way toward forgiveness. And I honestly feel like this book is a project that we kind of worked on together, that I really truly believe that even though he doesn't look very good in this book, I believe that he is behind this book,
Mm.
because the message is about not only forgiveness, but the bigger picture of our lives, of
Oh, that's amazing.
how we're here to learn lessons, and our enemies are often our greatest teachers.
Mm. Also, so
Mhm.
let me ask you something. So, were you somebody before your husband died who would believe in people talking to you after they had died before?
Yes, I
Okay.
already was there.
All right. So it wasn't a big leap for you then.
No, I pretty much, and I'd done a lot of reading on it. I'd
Yeah.
read Carolyn Mace's book, Sacred Contracts. Um, I'd been to mediums before, but it's not something that informs my everyday life.
Right.
But because of certain experiences I'd had in the past, I already accepted that. Whereas I understand a lot of people are very resistant to that or skeptical of that idea. And I respect that. I'm
Right.
not
I was
trying
going to
to.
ask you that. Like, did other people in your life where they're like, Kirsten, like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah, I've had friends and other people read the book and certainly people who have reviewed me online who are like, I liked the book until she got to the woo-woo parts. And then they kind of checked out. And, that's fine. It's not for everybody. But I can honestly say that it changed my life for the better. If I hadn't had this experience and if I hadn't believed that I could continue to work on my marriage after my ex-husband had died, that's a pretty wild experience or wild idea. I would still be walking around a very angry person and feeling like a victim. And this whole thing enabled me to push through that and see it as a blessing.
Yeah,
If you can wrap your
for
head around that.
sure. I can definitely wrap my head around all of this for sure. When's the first time you heard from your husband after he had passed away? What was that like?
I think the first time, and I described this in the book, my kids were both living with me at the time. My daughter who at the time was about 18 or 19, she was very close to Steve, my ex-husband. And she was kind of in a depression. She was on the couch. She did not get off my couch for a couple of months. And she was watching TV and she was on all her various devices. But she was watching TV and I came downstairs and she said, "What's wrong with the TV?" And I said, "Nothing." She said, "It keeps switching channels." And I said, "Well, is the DVR set? Is it, could it be this? Could it be that?" And she said, "No, no, no. I'm just watching this show and it's switching to this other channel." And I said, "Well, what channel is it switching to?" And she said, "Oh, it's this show I used to watch with Daddy." And the TV was just on its own switching to a program that she had watched with Steve, regularly. So that was the first inkling for me that he was trying to communicate with us. And my experience when my father had died many years ago, they say that people who have passed who are trying to communicate with you use electromagnetic energy. So things like flickering light bulbs or, appliances acting funny. And after my father had died, we had this huge house and there were like 42 recessed lights in the ceiling throughout the house. And within the first 2 weeks, 14 of them blew out, just like popped and went out.
Man.
So things like that, I believe that those can, it's not just coincidence.
Yeah. And I've had a few people on my podcast who have had experiences like that, or maybe they've had near death experiences and it's so powerful. And I think, for me, I'm probably more on your side where I'm like, yeah, I think it's possible and stuff like that. And it happens. Where some people maybe think differently, but I also think it's your personal experience. And who is it for anyone to doubt your personal experience? And especially if it brings you comfort and it helps you move on for stuff. Why would you bash that?
Yeah.
There's a beautiful thing in that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's easy to just roll your eyes and say, that's so silly. But honestly, I think people who believe that this is the only life we get and it's over, when we die, you're done, that this is your only shot.
So depressing.
I feel bad for them.
Really depressing, actually.
Horrible pressure. Like I have to get it all right in this
It's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. And generally those people don't seem very happy to me in other ways. They're like, and the older they get, the less happy they are because, it's getting close now. So
it's getting close.
This has really helped me. I don't fear death. I hope I have a good long life and that I get to do everything I want to do, but I don't fear death and I don't feel like it's the end. And that's been really, it's been comforting.
Isn't it? It's like, it's just a door, it's just a door. It's like, if you think about it that way, there's a different way you live your life too. When it's that, if it's just like, hey, lights go out, you're like, well, just seems like you're just waiting to be dead. Like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I
Well,
don't
I
know.
can't wait until those people die. And then all of a sudden they're like,
What the
oh
hell
my
just
God.
happened here?
Yeah. I get more.
There's
Well,
more.
they say that Steve Jobs' last words, have you heard this? When he was
No,
on his deathbed, he said, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow, three
really.
times. Like he was seeing something.
Yeah.
And if Steve Jobs liked it, it's good, right?
It must be good. I mean, the
Uh-huh.
iPhone's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. God only knows what devices they have over there.
Yeah. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness. So, how did you meet your husband? And this was a later in life relationship, right? You were saying in your 50s?
No, I was in my 50s by then. No, we married. I was 32 and he was 38.
Okay. Okay.
So
You
we
had some
married in the
time.
80s. We were married for 22 years. We
Okay.
had two beautiful children. It was a long marriage,
Yeah.
but I would say for the past 5 to 10 years, I was really unhappy in the marriage.
Mm.
He became a really unhappy person. We met at the wedding of a friend of mine in San Francisco, and he was an uninvited guest. He came with another woman, and I guess they weren't seriously involved because he left with a bunch of business cards from women, and one of them was mine. And I was very skeptical. I was very distrustful of men. I'd just come back from spending a year living in Italy. And so I had a rather jaded view of
Mm.
men, which is funny because my skepticism was kind of proven by my marriage, but
You're like, it actually was true.
it was true. um, but fortunately, I suspended disbelief long enough to marry him. And, we had a really happy marriage for 10 plus years, really happy.
Mm.
And then he really underwent kind of a gradual personality change.
What caused that, do you think?
You know, Damien, I still question what that was. I
Yeah.
think part of it was perhaps a little bit of undiagnosed mental illness from his
Oh,
family.
okay.
He definitely had some of that on his side, but also he was raised by his mother. His family was not probably not even middle class. They were lower income. They lived in a rural area in upstate New York. He was the only one of his four children who went to college, and then he went on to law school and became this very successful guy. But his mother always treated him as the golden child over the other three children. She bent over backwards to spoil him. And I think that created a man who, I can tell you, this was a man who, when he saw something he wanted, he pursued it with a vengeance until he got it. But then when he got it, it was never enough. It was, no matter how many trips or houses or motorcycles or whatever, it was just this kind of bottomless pit of need. And I think the flip side of that is you feel, yes, there's some narcissism there. I don't think he was clinically only a narcissist, but you feel like you want the best, you want it all, you want what you want, but then you get it and deep inside you don't necessarily deserve it. Like,
Mm.
I think he was aware since being a child that he didn't deserve to be the favored child. And so that creates kind of a hole inside you where you go through life, wanting all these things and being the success on the outside, but inside not loving yourself.
Yeah.
That is my theory.
And then, so you guys didn't discuss this during the time, like what you're telling me. Did you guys talk about this at all?
Not this, no, not this per se. We were in therapy for probably the last 6 months of our marriage, and I think it was too little too late. But I didn't find out about him being the spoiled golden child until the day of his funeral, and his first wife was there. He had been married once before and had 4 children from that marriage. And I sat down with her and I said, "Who was this guy we were married to? I don't even know who he was." And she started telling me these stories about when he was younger. And so, over a period of months and even years, I've just kind of worked that around in my brain and thought, how did it go from that to the person that I divorced?
Yeah. Did the other wife, did she get messages from him at all, or did she know about this?
I spoke to her at the funeral. I haven't spoken to her since.
Mm.
So I don't know.
It'd
I
been
don't.
interesting,
But
if he
I
didn't
will.
contact her, but he contacts you.
Well, he could well have
Yeah.
contacted her, or he could have tried and she didn't notice. I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
tell you that one of his older daughters from his first marriage, and I just learned this, she recently appeared on one of those ghost hunting shows
Yeah.
because her house was haunted. And
Mm.
there were some other spirits there, but also his spirit was there. She feels very strong. And I haven't been in touch with her either. We haven't
Yeah.
spoken. So she definitely had visitations from him.
Wow. Why do
Mhm.
you what do you think the reason is for these visitations? Like,
I think it's unfinished business.
yeah.
I think it's someone on the other side who's, they say when you die, you see like a movie of your life,
Mm.
and you suddenly get it. All the people that you've hurt, all the people
Mm.
that you've loved, all the things you've done right, all the things you've done wrong. You, in, that moment of death, you get that lesson. And I don't really understand how that works, but I've
Right.
read that repeatedly.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. You get a movie of some
Man,
kind.
my movie would be so funny. It'd be like a party, man. I'll be like, yes, what
Well,
a great time.
that that is a life well lived,
I'm
Davian.
telling you, if
That
it
is a
ended
life.
today, it'd be like, wow. Like,
Yeah, that was some fun.
oh, yeah, a lot of fun.
But I think there are a lot of people who, they just, Steve and myself, when I finally went to see a medium, because I didn't go to see a medium for a couple of years, I was like, I
Yeah,
am still not speaking to you. I am not
right.
ready to talk to you. I'm working on this mess you left me.
Mm,
But when I finally did, he came through immediately.
mm,
And the first thing he said was, "I'm sorry." But he said, "I did everything you asked me to do." Like, he was talking about the contract, and that before we came into our lives here, we had agreed to help each other learn certain lessons. And according to him, through the medium, he said, "I played my role perfectly. I gave you everything you asked me to do." So that's really liberating if you feel like, okay, this was my plan, even though, I had no idea. Um, it it prevents you from becoming a victim. It's like,
yeah.
okay, this is something I chose, lessons I wanted to learn in this lifetime, which ultimately, hopefully, will get me to some place of enlightenment, or, a better life next time, or a worse life. I don't know. But that was just really, and again, as I said, I had read a book about this, so it wasn't a whole new concept for me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. I accepted it when I heard it.
Talk about the lesson of forgiveness. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think it's
Mhm.
something that most people hear about, but have a
Mhm.
very difficult time following through on.
Yeah. So I was still in therapy after he died, I guess. I was still working with the same therapist. And I said, I can't I don't feel like there would be any point in my trying for forgiveness right now. I have so much damage left over from him. And she said, that's okay. Just, tell yourself you're working on forgiving him. You don't have to achieve it in a day. And so that was my goal. But I'm kind of this A-type, planning person. I had decided in my own mind, I was not going to forgive him until I was made whole financially, until I'd gotten rid of all the debt and I could refinance my house and all of these things that, it took me 8 months short term to handle, but 8 years to get it to roll off my credit report. I had an F on my credit report because of all this, because
Right.
there were 2 foreclosures and 2 short sales. And so I had this very specific timeline, like I was not even going to try to forgive him until that was all fixed. And what happened was, in doing this work and learning these lessons and seeing the larger picture, I very spontaneously forgave him out loud one day, way before I'd planned on it. It just came out of my mouth. I forgive you, Steve. And I guess my subconscious just realized that it was not going to do me any good to spend the next 8 years still pissed off at this guy. That it wasn't, it was only hurting me. He's gone, he's
That's
out of
exactly
it.
right.
Yeah. So, but it came from a very sincere place. And granted, once I said the words, it wasn't over. Like I would, I still had anger and I still had all of this stuff, but I realized, oh no, I am going to forgive him before my timeline, before the deadline, because it's not doing me any good. I want to get
Yeah.
on with my life. And
How,
so,
yeah. How has this affected you moving on in your life? This whole experience. I mean, it's a pretty powerful experience. How was your
mhm.
interactions with other people after this?
Well, for one thing, when I got divorced, um, we were living in the Napa Valley, and I had been a full-time mom for 12 years. I had not worked professionally for 12 years, and I was in this very remote place away from the kinds of work that I do. I had to, crawl my way back professionally. I had to first freelance for several years and start getting a portfolio together, and then gradually get more full-time work, to the point where, after a few years, I was communications director for a foundation in San Francisco. But I clawed my way back to that position. And I just decided that rather than moan about it or try to, take him to court I got no alimony and no child support when he was alive or after. And rather than try to, sue him for that, I would just put my energy into rebuilding my own career and just get on with it. So that's what I did. And, I'm proud of that. I'm really proud of that.
How did you? Okay, let's jump back into the dating thing afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
the tragic, the
Tragic comic. Yeah.
tragic. Okay, so you went through this incredible story, and your partner died. Your ex-husband dies, and then you have this incredible after communication. But then
Mhm,
you're on the other side of your life where, like, all right, I'm gonna start dating again.
mhm.
What what was that even like, trying to attempt that after this whole situation?
Well, I signed up for Match before we were even divorced. I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
because, when I was last dating in my late 20s, there was no Match. There was
Of
no,
course.
there was no internet.
You
This
hear
was
that, everyone? No internet.
no internet. This was when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And, you would meet people at a bar or at a party
Yep.
or at a wedding, as I met Steve. Um, so I just thought, oh, this is so great. You meet people online and you get to know each other. And I'm a writer and this will be so much fun. And I would say within a few months, I was like, this sucks. People say they're one thing and they're another, or you'll have this great relationship online and then they just drop off. And, but, like it or not, that is kind of the dating reality now for most people.
Yeah, I've
Young
heard
or
that.
old.
I've heard
And
that.
especially in a rural community, there are not a lot of eligible men in St. Helena,
No,
California.
they're not. I'm like,
And the ones that are all divorced from my friends. So,
oh, okay.
that became kind of awkward. So, I got jaded pretty quickly. And I think if you ask any woman over 40 about her online dating experience, I mean, I don't know any who love it.
Mm.
I think men tend to enjoy it more than women because, they can work it a little bit, but women who
Yeah,
are looking for meaningful relationships, it tends to be fairly disappointing.
right.
Not for everyone. I
Sure.
know people who have succeeded at it, but so I really thought I was going to partner again. I was in my early to mid 50s, and I was fit and I was interested in things, and I just thought I'm going to be married again for sure. And the one longish term relationship that I did have, it's in the book. It's with a completely inappropriate guy, but
Yeah.
we had great chemistry and we had great fun for a while. But at no time was I ever considering, a long-term partnership with him. He was just he was a nice distraction while the rest of my world was falling apart.
Mm.
But here I am, like, how many years later? 12 years later. And, I would take a break from Match and then say, okay, but I'm going to go back on it. I'm going to put myself out there again. And then COVID happened. And it was a relief, like, oh, good,
A relief. Yeah.
I can take a break now. I don't have to do that anymore, at least for now. And then COVID kind of went away, and I realized I really like my life right now, and I really love living alone, and I really love not having to negotiate what Netflix thing we're going to watch, or I am so completely free. I am so completely free. And I can travel where I want. Once I retire, I can move where I want. I think maybe my expiration date has passed for.
It's past.
Yeah.
That's when things happen, right? Like,
That's what everyone tells me.
right. You stop caring. Like,
yeah. I mean, maybe,
maybe
but
it won't. Maybe it won't. But
that's not my hidden agenda here. It really
yeah.
isn't. I really love my solo life, and I have tons of great friends and 2 fabulous children, and I'm financially secure.
Yeah.
When I was married to Steve, we went from being very affluent to being in a world of hurt financially.
Right.
Because he lost his job, and it got, and we had this huge, we had several homes and we had huge mortgages, and no, it was not fun. And
Yeah.
now, I live a much smaller life, but I'm solvent. I pay off my
Yeah.
credit cards every month, and I just feel super content right now.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. But I'm going to use this video against you in like a year when you're with somebody.
Okay.
I'm going to be like,
Okay.
I want to email you and be like, Kirsten, remember this video? I'm just
Well,
messing
like you
with
said, I think when you're really happy and content in your
Yes.
own self, that attracts that energy from
Right.
other people.
And it's
But
good. If you end
yeah,
up not meeting somebody, that's beautiful. You have a great life. And if
I
you
do.
do,
I really have a great life right
it's
now.
good too.
Yeah.
Like what a beautiful situation to be in.
Yeah. And I would encourage everyone to, I think, before you can be a really great partner, you have to have your own equilibrium, and you have to be happy when you close your eyes at night with
Yes.
who you are. And when you have that, then you don't need that other person. But you might find that other person
Yeah.
because your energy is going to attract it.
You know what's so interesting you said about that? I spend a lot of time now speaking and writing and different things about investing in yourself as a
Uh-huh.
fitness professionals. I'm in the fitness business. Like when
Uh-huh.
you're working with clients, a lot of times, I'm sure this is in a lot of service provider professions, you can have a very messy life and then you bring that into the lifestyle of someone else you're working with. Like you have to, when you close your eyes, you got to like really think, am I good with me? Have I put a lot of effort into me so that
Yeah.
I'm not going into and like wrecking other people's existence because mine is just a mess type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think when you're really young, you don't think about it that much.
Well, I mean, I speak mostly for women because they're my people.
Yeah.
That's who I am. But I know so many really wise, lovely women in this age bracket because we have gone through divorces and
Yeah.
deaths and heartbreak and raising children. That's such a
A whole
humbling
other deal.
experience.
I mean, like,
Yeah. And I just think that it's a great age of life because
mm,
we've learned so much and we're open to learning so much more.
what a great thing to say. I'm not sure
Mhm.
I've heard that from a lot of people
Mm.
who are in your age range for that. Like, that's just a great perspective to have.
Yeah. Well, like I said, most of my friends are women. I think this was, and I really want to be careful the way I say this, but part of my problem with the whole dating scene was I was not meeting men who were open to that same growth and
I
who had
see.
worked on themselves in the same way that I had worked on myself. I think a lot of men spend their careers just focused on work and
Yeah.
getting ahead and the enormous pressure of supporting a family
Right.
if they're the
Right.
sole support. I know that was a huge pressure on my ex-husband. He had created this huge lifestyle for us, but he was the one who was addicted to it. When he would
Mm,
complain about the pressure of his job, I would say, give it up, but don't give it up until we get rid of all these things.
yeah.
We have such a high overhead, but then if you want to scale down, let's do that. And he always said, I'm not ready to give up the lifestyle. But anyway, I think men, their focus is on work. I mean, a lot of men help raise their kids too. I don't
Sure.
want
Of
to imply
course.
that. But then at retirement, they just want to relax. They just want to
Right.
kick back and turn on sports. And, they just feel like, okay, I can really chill out now. Whereas I think women are ready for another chapter. A lot of women,
Mm,
not all.
right. Right.
It's like, what's next?
Yeah.
Is it another career? Can I travel? Can I work on myself spiritually?
Yeah.
I wish I had met more men who were on that path.
That's interesting. So that well was not full in the dating aspect of men who were moving in a similar direction that you were or you have
That
been.
was my experience.
That
I'm
was
not,
your experience,
yeah,
of
that
course. Yeah.
don't take that as a generalization for all
No,
men,
for
but that
sure
was
not.
certainly my
No.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no. Everything's your experience. I mean, how I see things, how you see things,
Mhm.
there's some commonalities in things, sure. But that's why I think like if you're having a story like this and your ex-husband speaks to you after he has passed away, it's your story. It should be celebrated because it means something to you and how
Yeah,
you went through forgiveness and how all the lessons you learned. That's a great thing. No matter what you believe, somebody getting better, you should always champion that. Always.
absolutely. I think that is so true. And that's what the book helped me, writing the book helped me to do, is it made me tell the story for others.
Yeah.
But in doing so, I was crafting the story for myself. And it helped me figure out so many things, about what had happened.
When did you come to the determination to write the book?
Okay, that's a funny story. So as I was going through this, people would say, oh, hi, how are you? And I'd be like, well, my husband just left me $1.5 million in debt. So not great.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of would spill it out. That was my therapy. And every single person would say, oh my God, you have to write a book about that. And I would say, no, thank you. I just lived it. And
Yeah.
I have no interest, none, in reliving it. But I was working with this spiritual life coach who was a little psychic himself. And he kept saying, I see you writing a book about your experiences. And I'd be like, no, no, no. And he'd say, I'm sorry, that's what I'm seeing. And then when I went to the medium, actually, this was the first time, it's before any of this really happened to me. My late father came through and she said, he's holding up the book, Eat, Pray, Love. And he's saying, you need to write a book about like this one. And Eat, Pray, Love hadn't even been out when he died.
Mm.
But that's what the medium was seeing, was my dad holding the book, Eat, Pray, Love. And he said, you need to write a book about this one, like this one. And so finally, when it was like, oh my God, even my late father is telling me to write this book, I finally said, fine, I will write this book.
Yeah.
But it was not fun. It was not a fun book to write.
Getting better is not always a fun adventure,
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, if Afterlife, you can advance copies of stuff. That could be good. I get that early. Well, I mean, it's often messy, the work of improving, of just, I think we want it to be smooth, but progress is not linear for sure.
You don't learn from smooth. You learn from bumpy.
Well said. I think it's words like resilience, determination, like hardiness. You don't get those from good times. You don't,
exactly.
You don't get that from that.
When Steve came through in the reading and he said, and the psychic was saying, he's talking about the lessons that you two are meant to learn together. And I said, okay, tell me, what was the lesson here for me? Why did I go through all this? What was, from your standpoint, what was the lesson I was supposed to learn? And he said, perseverance and to be a good mother to your children. And I said, do you think I was a good mother to our children? And he said, absolutely. I'm so proud of what you've done. That was so huge for me, Damien, because in the final, unpleasant years, he was verbally abusive. And one of the things he frequently told me was what a terrible mother I was. I think because he knew that was one of the most hurtful things
it would
he could
hurt
say.
you. Yeah.
And so I really needed to know if I was still carrying the weight of that judgment. And when he said, no, you're a great mom, that just took this huge weight off of me. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, what an incredible story. I mean, and you seem like just such a lovely person, Kirsten. Seriously.
I am a lovely person.
I know, right? I mean, as soon as you came on, before we even started, Kirsten was funny too. She was funny. I love funny people who have worked on themselves, are witty, and have just gone through a journey and come out on the other side very grateful. You seem like a very grateful person. Very
totally grateful. I think we're all learning how important gratitude is. It's just, it's really one of the most essential emotions, I think. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. I'm grateful we had this conversation. I really
I am too. This is fun.
It's just should be fun. It should be like my whole life. I just, obviously there's lessons I learned and difficult times have I had, but one big lesson is have a good time because you just don't know, there's a lot of mystery to what happens, whatever happens. But man, I know right now, if I have a good time and I enjoy the people I'm with, I want to have that as a great memory. And that's why I said, that picture of me would be pretty funny. A lot of funny stuff happening, a lot of hanging out, a lot of great conversations.
Yeah.
Just I've done everything I wanted to do in my life, literally. And
wow.
I'm 44. I've done everything I wanted to do.
Wow.
So everything else is gravy for me. All of it is just a bonus for me. So
Good for you.
yeah,
Good for
it
you.
doesn't mean that I haven't experienced hard times. I've had plenty of hard times, but I've always pursued the things I wanted to do
Uh-huh.
without any apology. And I've always had the best times I wanted to have.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
a life well lived.
yeah. And now I get to speak to people like yourself. That's just icing on the cake. It's
Mhm.
just more good times for me.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your wonderful story.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and just for being an awesome you have such an energy about you that really is like, it's very it's attractive. It's very attractive.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you invite that. Certainly. You have
Thank
great
you.
energy too. And I think it's infectious for sure.
And I'm going to tell you when you listen to this and you see the episode in the picture of Kirsten, that doesn't look like her, just so you know.
Do you
That's
want me to send you a new
I think we need a
headshot?
new picture because I was expecting a different person.
I'm not sure what that means. I'll send you a new
It's not a
headshot.
bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just that, you know what it is, everybody listening? The hair looks so different. The
Mhm.
hair looks so different. You'll see when it comes out if we keep the same picture.
I'll send you a headshot that was just taken like a
Yeah.
couple months ago. My hair is still longer than that, but it
Yeah.
definitely looks more like me.
No, it looked good. This is not a bad thing that I'm saying. It looked good. But
Mhm.
like it, you know, sometimes people send me the pictures for their podcasts and I'm like, okay, is this you? Like it was like,
Well, also I'm on Zoom and it's kind of making my hair a funny shape. So
no, but it
don't.
looks good. I'm telling you, like it's like you look very sophisticated to me, but fun.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that's a
Tell me
hell of a
honestly,
combination.
do you like the hair better now or in the picture?
Now, I like it
Really?
now. Yeah. I think
Huh.
it like you look like a very sophisticated, fun person. Like those two
Okay.
things don't always mix, by the way. Like,
Well, I'm going to tell Deborah to send you a new headshot so that
okay.
it looks more like me today.
Yeah. I mean, you just look fantastic. Seriously. You look happy. Uh, you just have an amazing story. And I've enjoyed my time immensely with you. So
I have too. Thank you so much for this great
of
conversation.
course, I'll tell everyone how they can connect with your book and you do the spiel, you know.
The book, The Ghost Marriage, it's on Amazon and all online booksellers. My website is kirstenmickelwait.com. I'm on social, Facebook, Instagram. It's hard to miss me. And, you know, there aren't too many Kirsten Mickelwaits out there. So
That's true.
if you find it, it's probably me.
It's probably her. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, we'll get this out and thank you so much for your time, Kirsten.
Thank you, Damien. It was a pleasure.